Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to dive into something really fun and edgy. This upcycle project is something that I think a beginner upcycle can absolutely do. We're going to take this velvet blazer and transform it into something fabulous. Originally, I started out with these two blazers and I was going to do half black, half teal, and then I changed my mind and I decided I am only going to work with the teal blazer. Now this half jacket is going to come with a twist. And by twist, I mean we are going to add some men's neckties to the mix. So let's get started and get our supplies together. So the plan is to cut this jacket in half. But before I want to do this, I've got to make sure that I'm pinning the inside of the jacket because I don't want the lining to slip and slide. Once you cut, it's really difficult to get that lining to line up back in place. So what I advise doing is pinning the inside right next to where you're going to cut. Okay, I can already tell this is going to be a statement piece just by what I'm envisioning. So first we're going to cut down the back of the blazer. We're just going to use the back seam as the guide so you can't go wrong. You've already put your pins on each side so you're not worried about the lining moving all around. And you're going to cut all the way up to and through the collar. See, not easy. Don't be scared. What do I always say? Just cut it. All right, now we've got the blazer cut in half. Now, I did kind of play around with this black one and I was like, maybe I should cut it. And then I said, nope, I'm going to just leave this one exactly how it is. Hey, you guys, now it's time to add the neckties. So I began going through my necktie stash to see what colors would go best with this teal. And I decided to use a burgundy kind of deep red hue against the teal because I thought that would bring a really nice kind of fall trendy look to it. So I have a lot of ties in my stash, so it takes a long time to go through them all. So I just started laying them out as I identified them to see which ones were going to work. And I landed on this group of ties. I think I might have added two more. All right, then I needed to decide, how do I want these to be attached? What direction do I want them to go in? Do I want them vertically, horizontally? Do I want to build out the back side of the jacket using the other half of the jacket? Do I want them to be horizontal? Like it was a lot of thought. So I played around with it a bit. And then you see here, I landed on putting them on here vertically. So now I'm attaching the ties. You really want to make sure they're secured with the pins, because you're going to try this on to make sure that the placement is good. So I tried it on and I actually really like the way this jacket is coming together. Isn't that just like a party in the back? I think I'm going to call this jacket a party in the back because it truly, when you turn around and you see those beautiful array of men's ties, and it's like, what is that? What is that? Are those ties? Yes, those are ties. And I love this. I love this for me. And yeah, so it's coming together pretty good right about now. All right, you guys. So before we sew the ties on, we've got to finish the raw edge of the back of the jacket. So I used some brown seam binding. I did not have this deep teal, and I wanted to go with something that I already had in my stash. I didn't want to have to go out and buy anything, so I used this brown seam binding and attached it to the raw edge of the half jacket. And then I just stitched it down. I did finish off the corners nice and clean by folding them in and then stitching them down because I wanted it to be a nice clean finish. I'm going to zoom in here so that you can see how I finish it up. This is important. You don't want to just, like, my recommendation is not turning the half, the raw edge in and stitching it down. I just don't think that gives you a nice professional finish. So my recommendation, go in with the seam binding, fold it over, clip it, and then you've got a nice clean edge. All right, so next step is to sew down the ties. Now, the first thing that I did was I just ran a basting stitch from the top of the jacket across all of the ties all the way down. And this way I secured them in place and I could try it on again just to make sure that everything turned out okay. So we did that first. I did try it on. And then we're going to go back and we're going to stitch around each one of the ties. All right, so here's the try on. And as you can tell, I hadn't stitched down the edges of the ties yet. And it wasn't, you see how it's kind of pulling a little bit? It didn't really look right. So I ended up having to go back and readjust. My suggestion is trying this on a couple times before you start stitching them down because you don't want to have to go back and do it over. So now we're ready to stitch it down. Okay, I fixed the placement and I think it looks so much better now. All the ties are sitting exactly where they should be and they're creating this cool kind of asymmetric vibe on the back. I am really, really obsessed with how this is turning out. Like, just beyond belief. This process, I would say when you're stitching the ties down, use a wider stitch just in case you need to go in and make any tweaks. It will be so much better. Now, if you're using a velvet blazer, remember when you stitch, you are going to have an imprint in the tie, in the fabric. So just be sure of that. All right, you guys. So let's kind of get into this next step. Now, I did not record the additional ties that I added in here, but I am going to talk through it. So let's get into the final part of the project. So I ended up having to rework the back. When I tried it on, the ties were buckling and there was just whole thing happening here and I just did not like it. So what I ended up doing, the ties closest to the top and the middle, they are on a slant, and that is so that when you come around to the front, they come into the clip that I placed here and they lay flat. So I'm hoping that once a body is in it, that it is nice and flat. But just in case you want to try this, so they're all on the angle this way, here. And I put some ties here at the bottom to give a little something extra, and I don't think I like it. I don't think I like the look. I am going to try it. And when the model puts it on tomorrow, if I don't like it, I am going to remove them. I don't have a lot of time. I'm going to an event tonight and I need to get myself together, and I'm not together. So we're going to do one more tie here on the side, and I am simply going to just run a stitch across here. If I'm going to go in, I'm going to sew all around the ties all the way down. Then we're actually going to put this tie on top of the seam binding so that you can't see the seam binding, like that. That's how that's going to go. Okay. And then we're going to see. Now this tie actually stands out more than I like because it's got this white in there. So we might have to put a different tie in there, but this is the look. And I really like this part here. I used a big safety pin on the inside across there. I might put another safety pin on the outside. These are very decorative safety pins. I'll show you one. I think I have one in here. I thought I did. I have one in silver. So it's gold, the one that goes on here. And if I put it there, it just looks nice. I also added a little boutonniere to just give it a little bit of pop. So we're going to see how we feel about this after it's all sewn together. So first we're going to go in and stitch, and then we're going to stitch these in and call it a day. I hope that I can get rid of the sewing marks from where I sewed before. I don't have a needle board, so I might be SOL, which means I have, yeah, see, they're not coming out. Maybe I can put it in the dryer. Maybe that might help. So I'm going to stitch it, and then the next time you see this, it will be on the model or it will be on me. All right.